Council Legislative Session 2016-25 on December 20th, 2016. For those that like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion from council to approve the legislative minutes from December 6, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to approve the open work session minutes from November 15th in reference to the draft comprehensive plan.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to approve the open work session minutes from November 21st, 2016, the evaluation of the fire service system draft report.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Kramer. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. President. I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, council members, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Kramer, before you get started, we would like to, if we could, we recognize the fact that everyone knows this is your last meeting today. And in honor of that, we do have some presentations we would like to make if you would grant us that liberty.
As you wish.
Thank you. If I could, please, Delegate Carl Anderson, Bunky Luffman, come to the podium, please.
Chris
And Delegate Adams.
Oh, this is great. I don't have to follow Delegate Anderton, which is always awesome.
Mr. Kramer, if you could join them, that we would appreciate it.
What was that?
If you could join them, we'd
Oh,
appreciate it.
unaccustomed as I am.
So Mr. Kramer's given decades of service to our community. So I have a governor's citation. The governor couldn't be here, but in my capacity of working for the governor's office, he asked if I could. So he's really appreciative of your service. And before I give it to you, so I was the vice chair of the Metropolitan Planning Organization until October, and Mr. Kramer's the chair. And one thing that when you're elected official, you know, when I was on the commission of deputy mayor in Del Mar and on planning and zoning, and you're just, you know, you're at the table, I don't think you fully appreciate what a chair does. And when you ascend to that, when I become the chairman of planning and zoning, at first meeting, you're like, oh my God, this is a lot more being this chair than I had thought. And it takes a special kind of person to be able to navigate a meeting and to bring sometimes differing opinions together without just gaveling people down, you know? And I think that your calm and kind of understated way of that you solicited information from all of us and our opinions, but you knew also, because you know, me and a few others are elected officials and we like to go on and on. You also knew how to shut us down without kind of bruising our fragile egos, which was always appreciated. So I just really, I admire that and I learned from it, and I took it to when I chaired meetings in Del Mar, and I really appreciate that. So, and I have a governor's citation that says, "Be it known that on behalf of the citizens of this state, in recognition of a well-deserved tribute to honor you for your long and distinguished career of dedicated service to the people of Wicomico County and the state of Maryland, in honor of the commitment and exceptional professionalism you have demonstrated as Wicomico County Council Administrator, and as our citizens join together in expressing our deep appreciation and sincere best wishes on the occasion of your retirement. We are pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation signed by Governor Larry Hogan, Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford, and Secretary of State John Williams-Smith. Thank you for your service. And you can thank Laura for getting it framed.
We're not finished yet.
Good morning, County Council. Greetings from Annapolis. I'll be very brief. Matthew, I've known you for a long time. Our family has been friends with you. My granddad, Lee Smith, used to play music, and you knew him very well. But not only are you friends of ours, you're friends of Wicomico County, and many years of your service advocating and presenting great policy for the County Council. Just an honor to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity, John, to speak just briefly, and thank you for the years of service.
Mr. Kramer. So I've known Mr. Kramer a long time. He's been around long time. Now, as mayor and a council member, as Bunky said, as chair of planning and zoning, kind of, seeing that stable force, and now as in the House, being able to call and get backstories on some local initiatives and bills just across the state, and having that institutional knowledge, and no matter where we've turned since the election, there's been change at every position, from the superintendent to the school board itself, the county council, the executive, the mayors, council members all across, the county. Now, Mr. Kramer's leaving, and, if I was a little bit self-conscious, I think maybe it's me that was making this happen, but no, I think it's Delegate Adams. So, but it's, we'll always move on, and I know that, I'll see Mr. Kramer around town, and he'll be more than happy and eager and excited to answer questions I propose to him at Supergiant, or Acme, I guess it is now, or wherever we're at along the road. So I have something for you, signed by the entire Wicomico delegation, from the Maryland General Assembly. It is from the State House. I still get goosebumps every time I walk in. That State House has been around since before the country, and it's an honor to walk those halls and represent Wicomico County there. And so at this time, I'll read it. It's from the Maryland General Assembly. It's an official citation. Be it hereby known to all that sincerest congratulations are offered to Matthew Kramer in recognition of your 43 years. Man, that's longer than me. But of dedication to Wicomico County. But you look good. You look good. Your hard work and service is noteworthy and absolutely honorable. Presented on the 20th day of December by the Wicomico County House delegation. It is my honor to say that I know you and that I've had the opportunity to work with you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Easy, yes, we have more for you.
Mr. Kramer, congratulations. I'm off. Right, cut it off.
Just in time.
Yeah, there it is, good, thanks. Mr. Kramer, on behalf of the County Executive of Wicomico County Council, I'd like to congratulate you on your long service and what you've contributed to Wicomico County and the state of Maryland. I've always known you for so long, as so many people in this room have. I've been very fortunate over the last 10 years to have the privilege to have worked with you and to consider you one of the best of friends. In everything you do, you always maintain such demeanor. You're the consummate professional. You're the ambassador, sort of, for Wicomico County. And the knowledge that you have gained and you have brought to this council over the last few years has been invaluable. We appreciate everything you've done and your long service. I think it will say this in the proclamation, and God, I have my glasses here. But I think, if you could, pay attention, because I think this is very well done and characterizes Mr. Kramer's service 100%. It says, whereas a council administrator must demonstrate vision, courage, integrity, humility, strategic planning, focus, and cooperation. And whereas Mr. Matthew E. Kramer began his career with Wicomico County in 1967 as a planning supervisor. His career advanced in 1973 to the position of Director of Administration, which he held until his retirement in December 31st, 2001. Mr. Kramer was rehired on July 23, 2007 to serve in his current position as County Council Administrator. And whereas Mr. Matthew E. Kramer has announced his decision to retire after a long and satisfying career with Wicomico County, and whereas Mr. Matthew E. Kramer has always shown commendable dedication to his profession and worked many long hours, often sacrificing personally for the good of others. And whereas Mr. Matthew E. Kramer earned the respect and esteem of those with whom he worked and always managed to maintain a sense of fairness to encourage others, even during difficult times. Now, therefore, the Wicomico County Council and the County Executive recognize and honor Mr. Matthew E. Kramer for his leadership, dedicated service, professionalism, good judgment, and fairness, and wish him a happy, healthy, and restful retirement, done this 20th day of December, 2016. Thank you, Ms. Kramer.
Here this way, so it'll be okay. I'm just going to say something very brief. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, that was supposed to get at least a titter. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Governor Hogan and those who were responsible for calling it to his attention, because he really doesn't know me very well. But I do know the members of our delegation and, of course, the members of the county council and previous county councils, and this was totally unexpected, Laura, and I'm very, very grateful and thankful to everyone. It has been my pleasure, but we are way behind schedule. So I will simply say thank you and go back and sit down.
I should also note, Mr. Kramer, that Senator Addie Eckert has a proclamation from the Maryland State Senate, but she could not make it here. She'll be in, she will get the proclamation to you at a later time. Do you remember where we?
I did hear that.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Do you remember where we left off?
Well, moving right along, the next item, thank you all very, very much. Resolution number 156, 2016, to authorize the county executive to execute on behalf of Wicomico County, Maryland, a lease addendum with the Maryland Food Bank. Approval of the county council is required for any lease of county property for a term longer than 1 year. The food bank, as you are aware, is expanding its building for cold storage purposes, and they desire to lease 1,117 1/2 square feet additional land, and will pay for that purpose $1 per year. The lease is for 25 years with a 25-year renewal, and the full amount of the lease will be paid up front.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 156, 2016.
So moved.
Second. Second. Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Hang on. Sorry. At this time, we have to open the floor, if you don't mind. This is a public hearing first. I'm used to the public hearing coming from Mr. Baker's section. At this time, we open the floor for a public hearing. If you would like to have any comments in reference to Resolution 156, 2016, please come to the podium, state your name and what your concerns might be. Great. Seeing none, that concludes the public hearing. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve Resolution 156, 2016.
Does council have any questions?
Well, we're waiting for an approval first and a second,
Okay.
if I may.
All right.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Second. Discussion, council?
Sorry.
That's okay. That's
We in
okay.
order now? We're in line?
We're good.
Okay.
Thanks.
We've had an agreement for 25 years with the food bank. This addition, has anyone ever inspected the building that they're in? No, we have nobody to respond.
Well, if,
Representative of the food bank is here.
Oh, okay. Hi there.
yes, if you could
Hi,
come forward, we
thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you. Did you want to join her, Mr. Strasburg? Okay.
It's their property.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
morning.
If you can let us know for the public your name and position.
My name is Jennifer Small. I'm the Managing Director for the Maryland Food Bank.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Do you know if anybody from the county's ever inspected your building?
Outside of the executive and Mr. Strasburg.
That's enough.
Okay.
That's what I was looking for, just that someone had at least been there from the county, since it is our building technically, on a lease basis, since we lease it, then we are responsible ultimately for the building, particularly at the end of the lease. So that's why I had an interest.
I have no comment.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 156, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, resolution passes. We appreciate all the hard work you do. You're doing a great job.
No, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for all of your support. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Second, Ms. Kramer, please.
Next item for your consideration is Resolution Number 157, 2016, to authorize the county executive to execute on behalf of Wicomico County, Maryland, a lease agreement with B.G. Catlin Enterprises, LLC. This, in addition to being a resolution, is also a public hearing. And the property is part of the Pemberton Holdings, Pemberton Park Holdings, and is not used for either the Pemberton area at present or for parking at present, as is customary. Land that is not for a particular public purpose is leased out whenever possible.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. At this time, we open the floor for a public hearing on Resolution 157, 2016. If you have any comments you'd like to make, come to the podium, please, and state your name and your concerns. Okay, seeing none, this concludes the public hearing on Resolution Number 157, 2016. Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 157, 2016.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions, discussion? I know Mr. Steve Miller is here if you have any. Any questions from council? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 157, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Mr. President, for the benefit of any who may be interested, I neglected to mention that the lease is for 1 year with 2 one-year renewals.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer.
Next on council's agenda is a presentation on behalf of the Department of Housing and Community Development Initiative. We have with us Delegate Chris Adams and Ms. Maddie Sulu from the Department of Housing and Community Development to discuss with you a new housing initiative, and if you will acknowledge them, please.
Thank you. Chris, you can come right here if you like. Okay.
Not sure with the protocol, but we'll do the podium if that's all right.
All right, if you could for 1 second,
Okay.
allow me to just check one thing. All right. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Council President Cannon, Wicomico County Council, good to be here today. County Executive Culver, Wayne Strasburg as well. Very excited to be here. If you'll remember, a year ago, I was here presenting a piece of legislation that I put in related to the sprinkler mandate. I thank you for your support last year as I pressed this bill to its unfortunate conclusion of not passing. What I learned in my first 2 years of politics is it's very important to deliver on campaign promises. If you're going to say you're going to do something, then you better well do it. I've also learned in politics that this is the art of what's possible, not the art of what I want. And we at the end of session last year, we learned through the Department of Housing and Community Development that the Hogan administration was aware of the sprinkler mandate, and they were hearing from pretty much every county in the rural parts of the state that there needed to be relief through the Regulatory Reform Commission. So the presentation you'll get today is 100% the governor understanding the issue and delivering a needed pathway to giving relief to our citizens that are trying to build single-family homes. If you remember last year, I was very concerned about how these kind of mandates impact first-time homebuyers, citizens with limited means, and I specifically wanted a piece of legislation that address those issues. Last summer, along with Wayne Strausberg, we met with the Secretary, Ken Holt, and frankly, his entire team, including Maddie here with me today, as we tried to move forward with a plan that would work. The challenge is that this is a federal program, federal dollars, and that it requires a county match to avail themselves of this benefit. What we did find through some conversations with you, John, is that the state was willing to accept your action through the elimination of the impact fee as the match. Not every county is so lucky to be able to meet that match. And what that means is not only are we talking about a $400 or $500 tax credit, okay, that may or may not impact people in Wicomico County, that ends up being a statewide, so it may help Montgomery County, Prince George's County citizens. This is a $5,000 loan to citizens who are building single-family homes, and $5,000 gets awfully close to the cost of one of these sprinkler systems. I present this as the answer to the best of our ability to resolve this issue. I'm satisfied, continually satisfied with the governor and how he represents and protects our interests on the Eastern Shore. I'm not going to let Maddie stand much longer. I'm going to introduce Maddie then to introduce the program for a few moments. Maddie Ciolo with the Department of Housing and Community Development and our single-family housing program. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Delegate Adams. Thank you, everybody, council members, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity this morning. I will just go through the program details after such a lovely introduction made by Delegate Adams. And I'll just take maybe 10 minutes of your time or even less than that. So as Delegate Adams explained, the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development has partnered with Wicomico County to launch a new homeownership initiative through the Maryland Mortgage Program. Maryland is called Maryland New Build. This will provide incentives to home buyers purchasing newly constructed loans in the county, including reduced interest rates on Maryland mortgage loans. So the home buyers, first-time home buyers who will purchase newly constructed home in Wicomico County in priority funding areas will benefit from reduced interest rates. For instance, today the Maryland Mortgage Program offers 4.5% interest rate on government loans and 4.75% on conventional loans. This program offers 25 basis points discount on each of those rates. Offer then also, as Delegate Adams mentioned, $5,000 in down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. It's a 0% deferred loan for 30 years for the time of the mortgage. On top of that, a home buyer can benefit from what we call partner match. The department will match up to $2,500 of any funds that would come from either an employer, a builder, a developer in the county. So we match up to $2,500, and then another $1,000 if the home buyer purchases a home within the 10 miles from their working place or within the same jurisdiction. So a home buyer can benefit up to $8,500 in 0% deferred loan from the department. We are offering also the Maryland credit certificate. It's called. It's actually a tax credit savings through the Maryland Home Credit Program that allows the home buyers to benefit from a federal tax credit of about $1,500 per year. That's calculated based on the total interest rate that they actually pay on the property they purchase. And of course, this program the main trigger of the program is the waiver from the Wicomico County for the impact fee associated with the newly constructed single-family homes. I'm also happy that I can carry Secretary Kenneth Holt words here. He said that we are really proud to partner with Wicomico County to support and encourage homeownership through Maryland new build, and also the combination of the incentives and the stability of a mortgage backed by the state of Maryland makes this an ideal time for potential home buyers in the county to explore their purchasing options through this initiative. This initiative is meant to complete the package of incentives that is intended to keep the prices of homes low, generate cash resources for home buyers at closing, and provide increased purchasing ability for participating home buyers through mortgage loan and cost savings. Potential home buyers are subject to household income limits, must meet standard qualifications of the Maryland Mortgage Program. For any questions you have, I placed there a few flyers and fact sheets with all the terms and conditions of this program, but by all means, please feel free to reach out to me or the department anytime, and we're also very open to partnering directly one-on-one with local or generally Eastern Shore builders, developers, anybody who's really interested and could benefit from this program. Thank you very much. Thank you again for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll just close by saying that the program as it's been presented is a very important piece to, and I'll articulate briefly what the problem is, that when you have an appraisal that comes through on homes in Wicomico County, comparable sales, they don't include sprinkler systems because homes in Wicomico don't have them. And so the reason why the down payment assistance is so important is that when you have a first-time home buyer that's coming to the table wanting to build a house that is costing $120,000 or $150,000, that $5,000 or $6,000 sprinkler system can be enough for them to have to actually come out of pocket to pay for that. The appraisers don't reflect that. The banks don't lend off of an appraisal that doesn't add it. So this is a critical piece to getting people in a position where they can build a home. I think it's a great opportunity, and thank Wicomico County Council for acting on this program, and also to eliminate the impact fee. I think these are important initiatives that speak to what needs to happen in our county to jumpstart home construction. So thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Adams. Any questions from council for Mr. Kramer?
Just one question. A home buyer becomes qualified for a mortgage up to a certain level. Will this loan be above, will it be added on, as say if a person can get a mortgage for $100,000, would this loan be on top of that?
It's on top. The assistance for down payment and closing costs goes on top of the mortgage.
Thank you.
Well, on behalf of the Wicomico County Council, we'd like to thank the Department of Housing and Community Development for this initiative. Thank Delegate Adams for his very creative maneuvering to make this possible for Wicomico County, because it was not an easy measure, and we appreciate all the hard work that you've done, Delegate Adams. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right.
Thanks for being here.
Now we applaud.
Next item on your agenda this morning is the presentation of the annual audit by our independent auditors, Pig, Crowell, and Stern. Present this morning is Ms. Ashley Stern, lead auditor, and partner Mike Plager.
Good morning. Make sure that you have a mic. They're all here. Make sure that when you're speaking into the mic, and if you could announce for the public in general on Pat 14 who you are and your position. Thank you.
Good morning once again. My name is Mike Kleger. I'm a partner with PKS and Company, and joining me today is Ashley Stern, who is a audit manager for the county audit, and Lindsay Jester, who is a senior accountant with PKS and also involved in the county audit.
In front of you, you have 4 packets. They're labeled A, B, C, and D. I found that's kind of helpful when referring to them. A is our financial statements. B is our required auditor's communication. C is the uniform guidance financial statements for your federal awards. And D is includes a copy of the presentation, which, since the TV isn't working, we'll work off of those packets.
Okay.
To begin with, each of you should have received a draft copy of the financial statements, I believe, prior to today's meeting. I know there wasn't a whole lot of advance information on that, but hopefully you had a chance to take a look at those. We've also previously delivered and reviewed a draft of the financial statements and reports with the county executive, director of administration, and also the finance director for the county. Our purpose today is to present the audit results, mention some of the key highlights, and then, of course, answer any questions you may have today. I know some of the information you've received literally today, so there may be some follow-up questions after this presentation, which is acceptable and just fine with us. If you contact us, we'll be glad to address your other questions that may come up after today's meeting.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with basic reports, the audit reports, which is pages 1 through 3 of the balance statements, which is the large 137-page document.
We'll be reviewing all 137
Yes,
pages.
well, maybe not today. We'll be here all day. There were basically no changes in the audit report compared to 2015 from an audit report standpoint. There was a minor item related to pensions in last year's report where we talked about accounting changes for that. We've dropped that comment because of that standard's been in place for a couple of years now. And there were some minor accounting changes as far as generally accepted accounting principles for government that were in place, but not to the point where we need to show those separately in the audit report. So basically, the audit report is the same as last year, if you kind of compare this one to last year's. I do want to mention the opinion paragraph, which is on page 2, about the middle. This is, from an overall perspective, the most important paragraph, and I'm happy to report that our opinion on the county's financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2016 is what's known as unmodified. This means that the financial statements present fairly the financial position of the county in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And this is also known as a clean opinion and is the highest level of assurance that we can provide as auditors. In addition to the audit report on pages 4 and 5, there is a report required in accordance with government auditing standards on internal controls and over financial reporting and compliance matters. Once again, I'm happy to report that we noted no material weaknesses or material compliance matters for the 2016 audit. So that, once again, is considered a clean report as well. So that's kind of a summary of the reports that are in the binder. As I mentioned previously, there's also a management letter comments, an agreed upon procedures report, and a memorandum which we have provided you today outlining some points that were discussed throughout the audit that didn't warrant getting into the bound report, but are separate documents. And again, we'll be able to address any questions you have on those whenever at this point.
All right.
And with that, I'll just return it to Ashley to look at some of the numbers and try to answer any questions you have today.
So I'm going to go through the other 135 pages, page by page by page. I did want to point out the management discussion and analysis, which is done by the finance director on pages 6 through 16, is a summary of what the rest of the financials are saying. It does put it into some more less accounting terms. So if you have some free time at night, I think that's the best part to immediately go to. I'm going to actually work from your slides that are in the packet D. And I'm working on the 6th slide, just for your reference. I'm happy to report that this year, the general fund equity or fund balance has increased by $7 million, and $5.7 million of that was in the unrestricted or unassigned portion of the fund balance. That's also on page 19 of your financial statements if you are looking within the financial statements. Then the next slide shows that your general fund revenues, that is also on page 21 of your financial statements. We saw a total increase of about $2 million in revenues this year. Most of that is due to the increase in local income taxes received through the state of Maryland. Also notably, there was an increase in recordation tax as well as the state disparity grant. There was a slight decrease in your real estate taxes and service charges. Real estate taxes just has to do with the property values, and the service charges is a change in the way the road service charges were reported when roads was an internal service fund, and now it's part of the general fund. The next graph shows your general fund expenditures by types. It details the salaries, other operating, debt service, and education. This is also located on page 21 of your financial statements. Some areas that I wanted to point out were your other post-employment benefit, or OPEB, and pension benefits are now allocated to the individual departments. So when you're looking at the change from year to year, that's something to note. Instead of it being all grouped as one big expense, it's actually been drilled down to each department to better show the effect that it has on each individual department. There was also a decrease in your hospitalization expense due to changes in the plan. Last year was unusually high due to the addition of the FOP disability plan and also effects from the ACA. So this year you're seeing a big decrease in what it was from last year.
I will add on the education funding there, that is just the Board of Education. There's an additional, it mentions 41 million, I think there's an additional 4 million that's allocated for Warwick as well, which is not shown here.
The next graph shows the breakdown of the general fund expenditures by department.
The pie chart.
The pie chart, yes. This is also, can start on page 111 of your financial statements and goes back for the next 2 pages. It's been very consistent with the previous years. In percentage-wise, you're seeing most of your expenses in your education expense, shortly followed by public safety, detention center, and then your general government. The next graphs I included because I saw some different trends that I wanted to then present to the council for them to also notice. The first one is your solid waste department 5-year trend. The enterprise fund can be found on page 23 and 24 of your financial statements. You'll see a positive trend over the past 5 years, especially when looking at the revenues and the overall operating income or loss from previous years. Back in 2012, we had a loss of about $1 million, and now we're sitting at over $1 million in income, which is a pretty good change over the past 5 years. And this is due to revenues being up by $900,000 this year. There was a $60,000 decrease in supplies expense, as well as in previous years, there was a $180,000 loss on disposal of old equipment, which is now not reflected in the financial statements this year. The other area of focus that I'd like to look at is the airport. We brought up in previous years a trend of where that change in net position and or operating income and loss was. This year you'll see a very large change to a $2.9 million positive change in your net position, where there's been a decrease in net position over the previous years. This is due to a large number of grants coming in this year to do different capital improvements at the airport, which are not being depreciated as fast as the income has come in. This year, $3 million is the increase in your grant revenues, and that is being split between some capitalized projects for the runway construction, which would totaled over $5 million, and different construction in progress, which you'll see reflected in 2017 of the baggage system and the HVAC system. I'd like to especially point out and say thank you to the finance department, the HR department, the executive department, as well as the county council for their assistance with our audit this year. And that concludes my presentation of the numbers.
Any specific questions for us at this point?
Any questions from council? I think what we'll do is review it and possibly look at having maybe a work session if that would.
That's fine. Just let us know if it would be good for you.
But I do have one question about
Sure.
It seems that our pension liability increased this year. Is
Yeah.
that correct? We had a negative rate of return?
Yes,
Could
well.
you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. As far as the details on that, I will refer you back to page 115, if that's the page you've already opened up to. A couple of things driving that. One, you can see in the middle of the page there, it talks about the county contribution. The previous year was 3.4 million. This year, it was only 1.4 million. So it's a $2 million decrease in our contribution, even though the liability is increasing each year. That's an actuarially determined number. So you probably need to refer to an actuary report to see where that number is coming from. But the other item you can see in the next feed is the investment loss. Last year it was about a break even, around $78,000 in income. This year we had a $1.3 million loss. Those two combined with the increase of almost $5 million in the liability, resulted in the total pension liability basically doubling over the previous year. If you look on the next page, there's also a trend report. It will show you the first line, the actuarially determined contribution by year, and then the next line down is what the county's actually funded. So you can see you're funding what's been required to meet current benefits, but the long-term future liability has increased, and the basic issue there is the rate of returns, which you can see. I don't know if that's shown on this page or not. That may be a different page. Actually, the following page beyond that gives you the rate of return by year. 2015 was basically break even, as I mentioned, and then this year was a 2.2% loss. Prior to that, you can see 14 was a 14% net investment income. So, the liability continues to increase, but obviously the level of contributions and the net income is driving where the total pension liability is at this point. So,
On page 115, it talks about service cost. What, can you explain what that is, what that means?
where are we at?
115, total pension.
Oh,
lia-
115,
yeah,
I'm on
Yeah,
that
the
page.
first line, the 2.3 for this
Yeah,
year.
I believe most of that is related to the pension cost. Do you have, we don't have specifics on that.
Yeah, I don't have the
That-
pension
That's in
report
the,
with me.
that's in the pension report, would give you the breakdown of that total. I don't really have the total figures. This information comes from the annual pension report, which I'd have to refer you to get the breakdown of that.
All right. Thanks.
So in layman's terms, you're saying there's been a loss as far as investments are concerned in 2016?
Yes, overall. And that's
It's
yeah,
through June 30th.
June 30th, right. In the previous year, it was basically a break even.
How do you break even?
It's basically your investment mix. I mean, you have to look at the mix of your investments. And that's, again, I refer you to a detailed pension report, because you can see where, when you get to the pension report, it would actually show that what funds you're invested in and what the particular bond and stock mix is. That's not going to be shown in these financial statements. These are kind of total figures at this point. But I would refer you back to the pension report.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on your agenda is Mr. Strasburg to give council an overview of the capital improvements budget.
Mr. Kramer, I believe we have, we have Mr.
I'm
Bibb here
terribly
from.
sorry, I've skipped Mr. Bibb. My sheet was in the wrong spot.
Good morning, Mr. Bibb. How are you?
Gentlemen. Mr. Kramer, thank you. I appreciate you putting me before Mr. Salter. I'm here today to give you a brief update. As I indicated when I first started coming before the council, I'd like to do this on a quarterly basis to keep you informed as to the activities of the Housing Authority. As I stated the last time, the Booth Street renovation project, which is Stone Grove Crossing, is probably about 99% complete as of today. We are anticipating move-ins beginning in January. We are in the process of reviewing applicants and qualifying prior tenants to move back into their new units. There is, if you may check your calendar, a proposed dedication period of January 23rd to the 25th. We're still trying to finalize dates with the governor's office, but that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, hopefully I can have an answer and a schedule to the council members before the end of this year. But that's a tentative week in January we're looking to do this. Typically, the ceremony lasts for 2 hours, starts at 10 in the morning, and there'll be a reception in the community space shortly thereafter. There's been substantial renovations to the old community center, and Councilman Davis was honored us by his presence along with about 22 other community representatives back on December 9th for a tour of the new facility. And I think he may be able to speak to the quality and the status that that brings back to that neighborhood with what has been built over there. We continue to work on the scattered site units. I promised back the last time I was here that we were going to begin construction on 15 of those units. As of to date, we have 7 certificates of occupancy issued on the 6th of December, and we are proceeding to certify individuals to move into those units. We are also working on some vacant attrition units that have occurred since September, which will add another 14 to 18 units. We're hoping the combination of the 15 scattered site units and the 14 to 18 will lend a new occupancy level of 25 to 30 more families by the end of January 2017. And that pretty much is my update. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions? Councilor Davis?
The only question we have, just like when we did the tour, the people was really concerned about what's going to happen on the second phase and what happened to the second phase.
Well, as you know, according to a fair housing statute, the Phase 2 had to be relocated to another site due to the census tract demographics, which requires a deconcentration of poverty and minority concentration in areas where a tremendous amount of capital dollars go. So we found ourselves last December faced with a decision that HUD was going to allow Phase 1 to proceed, which it has, but Phase 2, while we could build a new facility there, would not be able to incorporate another 50 residents of public housing. They would have to be relocated someplace else, which then they convert to a voucher situation. As you know, Merritt Mill is the new site for the Phase 2. Tax credit application was submitted back October 28th. It is under threshold review. We're anticipating an approval through the state. In the interim, as we vacate Phase 2 units, the development team is poising to demo the old units so they will not remain standing once they are vacated. And then there'll have to be a determination in the future what to do with that land. Some sort of housing, whether it be senior veteran housing or just a straight-out tax credit for multifamily.
Is there a timeline on that?
Not at this time, no. I think the focus right now is to get the funding in place for the Phase 2, and then once we get that approval, we'll probably be looking sometime by the middle of next year to determine how quickly we can find the funds, which is about $280,000 for the demolition of the Phase 2 units.
And then after that, when will you start planning for that site, what you can do to that site?
I think we're going to be open to some suggestions from the community as to what they think would best fit, and maybe conversation with council members. I mean, the point is to add a tremendous infill revitalization to that area. And we certainly don't want to do too much of a gentrification, if you will. We have a nice community that's built now, ready to go. I'd like to see us replicate that on the old Phase 2 site. But it's going to be up to the development team to come up with a strategy for funding that project.
Yeah, the reason I ask because I think at one point, Department of Recreation was waiting on the completion of that before they decided on how they're going to redo the Emerson C. Park, Holloway Park that sit behind it, and they was waiting for that the finalize of the housing.
Well, I think that's something that we can certainly have discussion on. As I said, my whole goal and objective as the administrator of the Housing Authority is to partnership with as many community efforts that we can. We're here to serve the community, and if other interests can assist us in that, by all means, let's have dialogue.
I want to thank you. We did go on a tour, had a group of about 22 people that went on a tour, and they were amazing. They're nice apartments. I can remember growing up when they built the originals, and to see that and what is there now, it's a big change, and I think it's going to be welcome in the community.
Thank you.
On the scattered sites, currently it's costing about a little over $51,000 per house
That is
to
correct.
renovate these houses.
That's correct. And that's a total gut rehab.
Right.
Yes.
And you've also mentioned in here that there could be some HVAC units, I guess, being installed.
We are currently, have met on a number of occasions with State DHTD office on their empowerment and the DOE money they have available to make that happen. And that is a course we're pursuing, yes.
How are things a little bit different now than they were in the past? Whereas as far as your operations and maintenance is concerned, have you added new staff? Is part of it being completely portioned out to the individuals who developed the new
We have not.
District complex?
We still have the original staff with the exception of one employee. We're working with the maintenance staff to improve the quality of the service they provide. Bear in mind, as we transition our portfolio downward from federal housing units to newly renovated or newly constructed units, the staff for the maintenance may end up being reduced also. This was something that was made aware to the staff 2 years ago when we started talking about this RAD transition. Because part of the RAD transition is that the housing authority no longer controls the operation of the property. It's turned over to a private management company. So at this point, we're still running at the same mode that we had been last year. As changes are necessary, myself and the Board of Commissioners will make the appropriate changes necessary.
So the apartment complex on Booth Street, that'll be managed by the separate company?
Penrose Management, that's correct.
On the scattered site units, who will be maintaining those?
We are going to create a new non-for-profit management company that will control that because we'll have compliance for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So that'll be a separate group of individuals.
Okay, and they'll, I guess, what I'm trying to.
Housing Authority will still own the property,
Right.
but it'll be managed by a whole new, probably two people actually will only need to manage that property. The maintenance staff will still require to do any maintenance repairs, but as we go through and complete the renovations to these units, the need for long-term maintenance care should be reduced.
Who will be doing are there still annual inspections being done from the staff at Wicomico Housing Authority
Yes,
of the properties?
yes,
So they'll continue that process?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, Mr. Bibb, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you,
We
John.
appreciate it.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Now it's time for Mr. Strasburg with the capital improvements budget. The agenda says a presentation that will actually be delivered this afternoon, but Mr. Strasburg is going to give council members an overview, if that's satisfactory.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Mr. Strasburg? Good morning.
Morning. How's everybody?
Doing well.
If I may, before we go into the CIP, I'd like to go back to Councilman Kilmer's question on the pension plan. As you know, we're in a consortium, and the consortium has met and, of course, was not pleased with the investment performance over the period of time. We have engaged or are engaging Bolton Partners to give us advice on whether or not we should consider a change in our investment manager. We met, Bob and I and Michelle met with the actuary for the pension plan last week. We reviewed the actuarial assumptions, we forecast that out, and we talked a bit about whether or not we should consider rebalancing the portfolio, that type thing. So we are paying attention to that. I would, of course, tell you that the valuation of the pension plan is a point in time. And at the point in time that it was valued, if you go back and you look at the stock market was not performing particularly well. If you looked at that valuation of the portfolio today, I would suggest to you with the run-up that we've had in the market that it would look quite different. So we're paying close attention to that, and we will factor that in this year's budget presentation.
Hopefully, they gave us those numbers on the day they had Brexit.
I'm not.
That would be encouraging.
I'm not sure, but you've got to consider, I think, rebalancing the portfolio as well, because fixed income investments are probably going to, existing fixed income investments are probably not going to perform well going forward because you can forecast a rise in interest rates. So the whole balancing of the portfolio needs to be addressed, and the investment manager ought to be reviewed as well in terms of the particulars, the particular equities and fixed income instruments that we're in. Same thing that you would do in your own private account. Moving over to the capital improvement plan, as Matt said, the document itself is currently in final edit and proofreading. Not to bore you with details, but that particular document is squirrely in terms of how it's formatted, and changes are sometimes interesting when we make them. We should have it to you by early afternoon. Once delivered, of course, we'll certainly look forward to work sessions to review and discuss our recommendations. But in the meantime, I can provide you with an overview of our thinking. First, funding sources. As I think you're aware, capital projects are funded through four basic sources: federal and state grants, our enterprise funds, county general obligation bonds, and county general fund reserves, and current year revenue. General obligation bonds, at present our debt level is at $120 million, which is at 56% of our charter limit. From a policy standpoint, we're reluctant to increase that percentage and are recommending borrowing not to exceed the dollar amount of debt that's going to be retired this coming fiscal year. That's approximately $10 million, $9.8 million, I believe. We're also, and I think we've discussed this before, holding $6 million in bond premium that's been accumulated from the past 3 years of bond sales. Those funds have to be utilized within 3 years of receipt for either debt paydown or capital projects. We will recommend to you utilizing those funds for some of this year's capital projects. And finally, as reported by PKS a few minutes ago, we were able to deposit $7 million into our general fund reserves as a result of unanticipated revenue, principally local income tax receipts. So those sources approximate $23 million, which was our past year's program level for pay-go and borrowing. So in summary, the funding plan will not increase our debt in total or as a percentage of our charter limit. It will utilize accumulated bond premiums. It will utilize the unanticipated general fund revenue for one-time capital improvements, which is a good utilization of our reserves. The significant capital projects that we will propose include the top 5 priority Board of Education projects. That's $8.1 million. To review those with you, that includes the West Salisbury Replacement School, East Salisbury Systemic Renovations, that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, the Mardella Middle and High School track, Beaver Run renovation, school studies and planning, and the Del Mar systemic renovations. The completion of the radio system is $750,000. Interesting, that's down from what we had programmed. It was going to be $4 million. Dave Shipley and his team have done an excellent job of bringing that project down from about $22 million earlier to a number that's probably going to be around $18 million. Public safety building planning and design is $600,000. Our detention center, the roofing system there, all of our roofing systems across the county have now been scrutinized by a professional consultant. The roofing system, there's 3 separate roof membranes there. We'll do this over a 3-year phase-in. It's about a $1.2 million total project. We're proposing $412,000 this year. And then we also need to update all the shower facilities throughout the facility. That's about a $525,000 project. We'll do that in 2 phases, $266,000 this year, and then again next year. The Barron Creek Road restoration at $500,000. We're proposing $500,000 for the first phase of the final right-of-way for the West Side Collector. As a result of the roof study across the county, the Purdue Stadium roof needs to be replaced at an estimated cost of $700,000. As you know, we have undertaken facility improvements to Purdue Stadium. If the roof is failing, it makes no sense not to protect that investment. So we're going to move ahead with that, or propose moving ahead with that. As we've previously discussed, the airport main runway, runway 1432, has to be extended 600 feet. That's a $6 million project. Our preliminary thinking is that is how we would utilize our accumulated bond premium. As you're aware, we've also are going to bring forward the airport water service. The first phase of that project would be the planning documentation, and that would be $350,000. I'm happy to report to you that we have applied to the state for grant funding. I received those documents this morning. I'll review them this afternoon, and we're hoping to have some significant grant funding assistance with the airport water project. We have also approached the governor's office for some state assistance on the runway extension. And with that, if you have any questions for me at this point, I'd be happy to answer them. And we'll be delivering the document, hopefully early this afternoon.
I thought the runway extension was going to be more or less a bridge loan until we get federal funding for that. Is that correct or not?
We're going to forward fund that, Joe.
Okay.
We're going to forward fund that. We will be repaid by the FAA to the tune of about $1 million a year, but those funds won't be available for probably about 5 years. I've got to really go into the scheduling of that. The question I have is, and I've got to talk to bond counsel Lindsay Rader, to determine whether or not the forward funding, the loan to the airport, which will be repaid, satisfies the bond premium investment requirements. If not, we would probably then propose that we use that $6 million for other projects. But it's important that we utilize it, otherwise there are some tax consequences.
Okay.
Kind of speaking of the bridge loan issue, obviously, we're talking about the Board of Education later today.
Yes.
About like the West Salisbury situation. How does that play into here? What are your opinions on that? Is that even an issue with the CIP? Can you talk about that?
Mark, that's really a temporary cash flow issue. That bridge loan, if you will, is not going to be outstanding, I think, any more than about 8 months.
Okay.
So from a cash flow standpoint, I think we can take that in stride, and it keeps the project in the queue.
I guess that was my question. Is that something that the executive's office is kind of, okay with? Or, I'm not sure how far it's gone down the road of planning.
No, we've had multiple discussions. I will say, however, that bridge loan, if you will, is certainly dependent upon the IAC action. If the state is not going to participate at the level that they've previously indicated they would, that's a game changer. This is simply addressing the issue of the fact that the state, I don't want to refer to the state as slow pay, but the state is slow pay. So we're going to fill that gap.
Fair enough. On the Purdue Stadium thing, this is $700,000 in addition to the you know, already, what is it, 2 million in renovations that we've already done?
The renovations, the original renovation project, back when we did the lease, Mark, I think the total renovation project was a little bit over $4 million, primarily funded half by the state, half by the county. Unfortunately, at that time, we were not aware that we had a roofing issue. And now we have leakage in the roof membrane that's over what I'll call the public areas where the concession stands are, that type thing. So as painful as it is, to me personally, if we don't address that roof leakage, we're now allowing damage to those areas that we have already invested in. This is something that the county is in the process of taking on countywide, the condition of all the county structures in terms of the major systems, roofing, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical. We have general services reviewing in detail each county structure so that we're not surprised like this again in the future.
But I mean, so this full $700,000 falls on the county, though? There's no state match, there's no team match?
I can certainly apply for state funding. It's hard to read the tea leaves right now with where the state is in terms of what grant funding they're going to have available. As you know, the state is having its own issues in terms of its budget, but I'll certainly try.
Well, I guess my question is, and this is probably before the current executive's term, but, you know, if this would have been caught earlier and folded into that larger project, could we have gotten half the funding for the state for this?
We may well have, Mark,
Okay.
and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Question. So what you're saying really is that the debt service, where it's at 10% right now, is not going to be increasing at all through the new CIP. I think that's important.
Yeah, our intention or our recommendation is going to be that we keep our debt level where it is right now, that we will only borrow next fall what we've paid down this year. And I think what we're paying down is $9.8 million, so we'll propose borrowing around $10 million. You've got to have an issue that's large enough to cover the fixed costs of an issue. So right around 10 million is the magic number, if you will. And then we're paying down, if you look at, and I'll give you this, if you look at our debt schedule, we're paying down in the next several years on the order of $9 to $10 million a year. So we're going to get that ratio to a better place over the next 3-4 years, as long as we don't have a big
Major
surprise in
problems.
terms of what we've got to invest from a capital standpoint. But, you know, we think when you're at 56% of your charter limit, you ought not take that higher.
You know, it's increased a lot in the last few years, and we've had obligations.
Right.
And I know that the debt service is at 10%. I guess the recommendation is not to go above 12%, so.
Yeah, that's a policy issue.
Yeah.
And
Right.
certainly we'll stay well within that this coming year.
Good.
So from a debt standpoint, we're taking I think an appropriate conservative approach on further debt this year.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Wayne.
Would you like me to stay here for Comcast?
Certainly.
Why not?
Mr. Kramer?
Next item on your agenda is Resolution Number 141, 2016, to approve a cable franchise agreement and side agreement between Wicomico County, Maryland, and Comcast of Delmarva LLC, and to authorize the county executive to execute the agreements.
Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 141, 2016. Second?
Second.
Discussion? Any questions? All those in favor of Resolution 141, 2016, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes. Thank you, Mr. Strasburg. There's a lot of work on the agreement.
Thank you very much.
Next on council's agenda is resolution number 154, 2016, declaring that A&M Family Group LLC, located at 1135 South Salisbury Boulevard, Salisbury, Maryland, is eligible to receive enterprise zone credits. This was in your agenda for the last meeting, and there were questions about the LLC. In your brief book material, there is additional information with regard to that. I'll briefly cover it. A&M Family Group is a real estate development group, and they have purchased and invested in the property located at 1135 South Salisbury Boulevard, the location of the previous Horner Honda. According to leasing agent Wesley Cox, 50% of this property will be leased to PRMC for one of their Your Docks Inn locations. The other 50% is undetermined and will be available for lease. Mayor Hafez is the only principal in the LLC, and A&M Family Group has demonstrated their eligibility for the property tax credit by investing approximately $500,000 in the property by gutting a purchase of the property, gutting the interior, subdividing the property, and adding interior infrastructure and redoing the exterior. And they are in good standing with the Department of Assessments and Taxation.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 154, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 154, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes.
The next item is Resolution 158, 2016, declaring that Palermo LLC, located at 601 East Main Street, Salisbury, is eligible to receive enterprise zone benefits. Palermo is also a real estate development company, and they have purchased and invested in a property at 601 East Main Street, location of the former Wonder Bread across from the city park. That's undergoing changes every day, practically, as you go by. The property is nearly finished. This site will be partially leased by Davis, Bowen, and Friedel and another approximately 9,000 square feet will be available for additional leasing. Dennis Solidicato is the only principal in Palermo LLC, and Palermo LLC has demonstrated their eligibility for the property tax credit by investing $2.5 million in the property. They are in good standing with the Department of Assessments and Taxation, and Mr. Silicato and his holdings have done a number of commercial real estate improvements throughout Wicomico County over the past 20 years.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 158, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, resolution passes.
Next is Resolution number 158, 2016, declaring that the Palermo, number 169, 2016, approving an amendment to the bylaws for the School Building Commission. In essence, the School Building Commission desires to change the bylaws so that appointments will begin on service will begin on the date of appointment rather than on July 1st, as is the current reading. This will afford staggered terms much more easily.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 159, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes.
Next for your consideration is Resolution number 160, 2016, confirming the appointment of Bruce W. Patterson to the Wicomico County School Building Commission. One member of the School Building Commission shall be from the County Council. One member shall be from the County Executive's Office. One member shall be from the Wicomico County Superintendent's Office. One member shall be from the Board of Education, and 5 members who are approved by the School Building Commission shall be appointed by the County Executive and confirmed by the County Council. And Mr. Patterson, I believe, is still here. There he is.
That's right, man. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 160, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is Mr. Patterson's second time of serving, I believe, on the School Building Commission, and just coming back would be welcomed. Thank you, Bruce.
It's a great asset. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 160, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes.
Next for your consideration is Resolution Number 161, 2016, confirming the appointment of Keith P. Fisher to the Wicomico County School Building Commission.
Entertain a motion to to approve Resolution 161, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 161, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes.
Mr. Fisher, council members may recall, volunteered his time a year or so ago when Mr. Culver and some members of the county council toured the West Salisbury School Building, and he lended his expertise to that effort. Next for your consideration is Resolution Number 162, 2016, in support of an application to the State of Maryland Rural Legacy Board to expand the boundary of the Quantico Creek Rural Legacy Area to 35,818 acres. The Rural Legacy Program was created by the State of Maryland in 1997 to protect large contiguous tracts of Maryland's most precious cultural and natural resource lands through grants made to local applicants. The program encourages local governments and land trusts to work with landowners to protect environmentally important, sensitive areas that are also critical to the local economy and quality of life. The Quantico Creek Rural Legacy Area was established by Wicomico County in 2000 and currently contains 14,687 acres. Landowners who participate in the rural program do so on a voluntary basis, and the pool of remaining potential participants in the existing rural legacy area is diminishing. So the Natural Resources and Conservation Advisory Committee has recommended to the county executive, who concurs in their recommendation, to submit an application to the state to expand the Quantico Rural Legacy Area.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 162, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 162, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes.
Next is Resolution Number 163, 2016, confirming the appointment of Paul D. Wilbur as County Attorney for Wicomico County.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 163, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 163, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Congratulations, Mr. Wilbur.
Mr. President, that's all I have on the agenda at this point, but if I may beg your indulgence, may I take a
Certainly,
moment?
Mr. Kramer, thank you.
The kindness extended to me early in the meeting today was quite a surprise, quite unexpected, and I'm very grateful for everyone who had a part in that. I thank you for your kind words, Mr. Cannon, and those from others. This is my last council meeting I have no idea how many that has been over a period of in excess of 4 decades. But it's been quite a number. The math would be fairly simple, but as the late Senator Mary Knock said in the title of a book that she wrote, it's been a joy and a pleasure. It truly has been a joy and a pleasure for me to serve each and all of you and the 2 previous county councils. 2 of you are veterans and are survivors of that council, Mr. Joe Holloway and Mr. Cannon. There has been a great deal accomplished, and there's still a great deal more to do. And I said to a colleague just recently, boy, there's even though we, you as a body and I as an individual, agreed on this date some 18 months ago for planning purposes at any rate, it seems there's never a good time to leave, because there's always a lot of really good stuff getting ready to happen and happening now, and I will miss that. I will miss all of you, but it's time. My wife has been encouraging me to retire for the past several years. Once she said, honey, I'd like to have a few good years left with you. And I said, well, golly, we've been married for 35 years. Haven't some of them been pretty good? Actually, that was a joke. But it went over better than the one I tried earlier. But thank you very much, and that's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kramer. Appreciate your service. At time we open the floor for public comments. If you have any public comments you'd like to make, please come to the podium and state your name and address and whatever your issues might be. This concludes public comments. Council comments. Any council comments? Councilman Hall?
I'd like to congratulate Mr. Kramer on his retirement again. And we actually go back to, I believe it's prior to his employment in Wicomico County that we actually met in across the bay a long time ago, when we had no interaction in between that period of time where we were very young and we did the things that we were supposed to do, which was probably a good thing for you. And but now, since we have been together for the past 6 years, I certainly have enjoyed the relationship that we've had, and I'm sure the rest of the council feels the same way. It's just been a pleasure, and thank you very much for your service. I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hall. Vice President Dodd?
Yes, I thank everybody for being here today. It looked like it was a good turnout. Want to congratulate Matt again on his retirement. I don't think this is the last we're going to see of him. I think he'll be around. If not playing an instrument in a band somewhere, we'll see him. I also want to congratulate Laura on her new position. I think she'll fit in just well. So thank you for serving as our executive assistant. Mako was this past week. A lot of classes, a lot of sessions going on. One thing that was a big topic there was opioids, which is big in this county, big in the state, big in the country. And I already knew how to resuscitate someone that was unconscious due to opioid, but if you took the class there, they gave you a kit that had the antidote. So if you carried a kit with you, you know somebody overdosed on heroin, you can administer and possibly save a life. And Laura was in the class there, so not hopefully she'll get to use it, but if something happens, she'll be prepared. So that was a great seminar by Mako and Maryland Association of Counties. Last week I also attended the Salisbury Chamber of Commerce had their annual economic forecast down at UMES. A lot of people were there, a lot of delegates, a lot of senators, Board of Education members were down there. It was a great turnout for that. I'd also like to thank everybody for attending these meetings and putting up with those all year long. A lot of hard work for our colleagues here, a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see, and it's hard to believe this year's gone by already. So I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Other council comments? Councilman Holloway?
Matt, I want to thank you for all the conversations we've had in the past 10 years, 9 years. I met you several years before that, and we've had a lot of conversations. We don't always agree about how to hunt deer or politics, but we've always got along good, and I appreciate that. The history is invaluable, and I know from being here for 9 years or almost 10 years that it doesn't come easy, remembering everything that happened. So I want to thank you. I also want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Holloway.
Matt,
Councilman Davis?
unfortunately, not like Mr. Hall, I didn't know you that long. I met you, but you didn't know I met you when I was working state police in Salisbury. One afternoon.
You weren't supposed to talk about that.
Oh. Well, it's the statute of limitations is expired now. I was sitting out there towards Vienna, and this car come to the bridge at a high rate. And it happened looking, it was looking just like a police car. So I didn't bother, of course. But as the car went by, I said, he's kind of old to be a police officer. Again, I didn't. So I made some inquiries to come find out. They said it was Matt Kramer, the county administrator. I said, oh, okay. So I didn't bother you, but thank you. It's been nice working with you. I've only been here 2 years, but I've gained a lot of wealth of knowledge from you. And I hope your wife don't mind. I still got your phone number. Sometimes I might call you because, like Joe said, we're losing a lot of knowledge when you leave here. So congratulations on your retirement and enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Councilman Kilmer?
Yeah, well, I'll join all the tributes. It's, I first met you at the Charter Review Committee, and on that, you were very, it's very useful to have you because, we talk about the county charter, and you could talk about, well, in the 1970s, this is what happened, and in the it was a lot of history about what, what shaped the governance of the county, and it really, gave a lot of insight to those of us on the Charter Review Committee. And, that is continued here when we've talked about budget issues or things like that, where you can go back and talk about how things used to be and why, why this county does things this way. And that will certainly be missed. And obviously, we all think Laura will do a great job stepping into that position. But Laura doesn't have the gray hair and the experience that comes with it. So, you've been unique for that, and I know I've certainly appreciated your advice and the short time that I've had to work with you. So thank you very much, and I'm sure if you ever want to stop by, you drive by my house on a daily basis. So feel free to stop in if need be. So, but thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Kramer, it's been a real pleasure, and that would be an understatement, I'd have to tell you. It's been a pleasure working with you. I've always known, as I said before, everyone's always known of you because your reputation in Wicomico County is unsurpassed. But I must say, in having gotten to know you the last few years and working very closely with you, I've always been so surprised at your integrity that you have, the character that you have, and what you actually bring to the table. Other council members here and other individuals have talked about, your knowledge and the institutional knowledge. There's never an instance where we can't have a question and we can immediately turn to you, and it just goes without saying. It's no different than what if you might Google Wicomico County. You say, Matt, and you always have the answer, and you always do have the answer. In addition to the knowledge that everybody talks about, though, that you also, I see a lot of wisdom, which sometimes people don't recognize that. But they say the fact that a fool will often speak, and yet the wise man will listen. So you couldn't be in a better environment as wise man, because you hear a lot of talk. And in many instances, it's been you and I sitting at one table, and you've been very nice about it, and we may not always agree on something, and you still maintain such demeanor in our conversations, and don't think I don't pick up on it. And I said before that your tongue has had to have been surgically replaced at least 100 times, because that's just how you are, and that's why it makes you so good. You have to serve, Matt, and I say serve because we call it serving, but actually I think you're always running the show. But if you think about it, in all of your years, you deal with liberals, you deal with conservatives, you deal with every person with every opinion, and the most opinionated people that there could be, and you manage to persevere. And that goes to your wisdom, that goes to your judgment, that goes to your sense of diplomacy. And I don't think people should underlook that. So, again, I'd have to say, to me, you've always been a consummate statesman. I think that you're probably one of the greatest leaders in Wicomico County, and I don't say that lightly, Mr. Kramer, because if people really knew what your history was, I'd say not every person employed by Wicomico County was hired by you, but they were probably hired by someone who you hired. And that goes back a long way. So that leads to the integrity that you've had throughout Wicomico County over decades, as you said. So again, I'd like to thank you for being such a strong leader and such a very good friend, and we'll certainly stay in contact with you for many years. And I do wish you the best of luck, and we're glad to turn you over to Bonnie so that you can you can now appreciate more in life and on your own time. I can't tell you much about your hunting because we know about your hunting. I can't help you with that. But still, all being said, thank you very much for everything you've done. We really appreciate everything you've accomplished and what you've done for this council and for Wicomico County.
Thank you.
Well said, Mr. President.
That being said, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn so that we can go to an open work session followed by a closed work session.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Meeting's adjourned. We're going to take a 5-minute recess if we may.
I wasn't expecting all that.